In the morning, techies. Welcome to today's news and guidance show for Friday, November 21st.
Coming at you live from the beautiful Inner Harbor at Baltimore.
Let's look at today's items. Fugees to Fis, the person who sort of pulls the threads of all this complex information.
And I'm Wadiner, here to weave that tapestry, give you the context, and really get into the so what behind all these headlines.
And we have a really dense stack today.
We really do. I was looking through it, and it spans everything from a simple loose wire causing just catastrophic failure, all the way to brand new digital threats that can get around end-to-end encryption.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty sharp and clear. We're synthesizing the most critical stories hitting the wires around November 20th and 21st.
And we're doing it to give you, the learner, that clarity. The shortcut to being informed without having to wade through all the noise.
We're always looking for that memorable nugget, that surprising insight.
I think the connecting theme today, as we'll see, is vulnerability. It really is, whether it's a huge physical thing like a bridge or something abstract like your encrypted chat.
It almost always comes from some small failure, doesn't it?
A failure of diligence in the smallest component. We're going to be looking at the critical mechanisms of failure across, well, a whole bunch of different systems.
Absolutely. And before we dig into all that failure, I want to give a quick shout out to those of you listening live-ish.
That's right.
The next bullish market is tonight after 6 p.m. ET. You really need to check it out.
The site is bullishmarket.onrender.com.
It's a fantastic concept, a Bitcoin-fueled virtual farmers market.
I love this. It's supporting independent vendors all using decentralized currency. I mean, that is an increasingly important part of the financial landscape, It's a real innovation in commerce.
It really is. And they just launched a new jukebox feature, which is, I have to say, a blast. The whole experience is just more fun.
So what kind of vendors are we talking about?
Oh, the list is solid. You can get delicious jerky, specialty butters, high-quality cocoa beans.
Okay, I'm sold on the jerky already.
There's also disc golf gear and, of course, our long-running favorite, the survival seasoning. You have to have it.
You do. So go support them tonight. Check out the new jukebox. It's always a worthy cause to support independent entrepreneurs.
Okay, let's unpack this. And let's start literally right where we are here in Baltimore.
Right.
Looking at the local reality that really sets the stage for these bigger ideas about systemic failure.
Right.
We have to start with the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. It's a tragedy, obviously, but the investigation just keeps generating these crucial findings.
And the NTSB announced just this week, on November 18th, that its vote on the probable cause was scheduled.
Which means the final definitive conclusion is about to be formalized.
And that is going to have huge implications. I mean, for legal liability, for maritime safety, really, across the globe.
What's so fascinating here, though, is how the investigation peeled back all these layers of just catastrophic failure to land on something.
Something profoundly simple.
Exactly. The first theories were all over the place. Structural flaws, pilot error.
Right. All the obvious things. But the preliminary NTSB findings pointed directly, and I mean unequivocally, to electrical failures aboard the cargo ship Dali.
And the AP News report got even more granular. This is where it gets really interesting for us because it's about basic diligence.
Or a lack thereof.
The report revealed that the Dali had 2 power blackouts, one right after the other, and it was caused by an issue that sounds almost, I don't know, comically trivial given what happened.
A loose wire.
A single loose wire. And that one point of failure led to the loss of propulsion, loss of steering, and the ship became this 1,000-foot-long missile aimed right at a bridge pylon.
That single detail, a loose wire, that is the critical and frankly terrifying takeaway for anyone managing infrastructure or industrial systems anywhere in the world.
It wasn't some sophisticated cyber attack.
No. Or a freak weather event. It was poor physical maintenance. And if you think about the layers of redundancy that are supposed to be on a modern cargo ship of that size.
You mean like the generators, the backup batteries?
The primary and secondary generators, steering mechanisms, all of it, they're all supposed to be isolated. The fact that one sort of trivial electrical fault could undermine the entire control system.
And all the redundancy layers.
It suggests a systemic flaw, either in the electrical architecture itself or, and this is the critical part, in the required maintenance protocols.
I think that is the lesson for you listening. It's a classic case of a low probability, high impact event that's just driven by negligence.
And when we say high impact, we mean catastrophic failure. The checks and balances failed.
They just didn't hold. And that has to inform a total reassessment of electrical maintenance standards in global shipping. It's a perfect metaphor, isn't it? The weakest link.
It always is. And if the redundancy layers failed, it means the inspection system failed first. You have to ask, who signed off on the maintenance checks that should have caught that wire? That's just as important as the physics of the collision.
Okay, so moving from that physical failure to what's happening in local justice and governance, we saw a major update on accountability.
Officer Robert Parks was indicted.
And not just on minor charges, attempted murder and assault charges. The evidence cited was, well, it was chilling. Video of him driving a cruiser directly toward a civilian.
And that shows the continuing push for accountability, right?
Yeah.
Using modern documentation video as the definitive source to bring serious criminal charges.
It's not he said, she said anymore.
No. The video turns it into a definitive statement of fact that a grand jury clearly found compelling. That standard of scrutiny is so crucial for public trust.
And that scrutiny is also extending to these newer kind of quasi-public forces.
You're talking about the Johns Hopkins Private Police Force.
Right. It's a university-controlled entity, but it operates with public policing powers. And now student groups are alleging intimidation and suppression of protest.
Which raises a really important question about oversight, doesn't it?
It does.
When a private entity gets policing powers, how do we make sure they have the same transparency, the same constitutional compliance that we demand from a municipal police force?
Especially when it's about First Amendment rights, like student protests.
Exactly. So the tension has gotten significant enough that there are now growing calls for city council oversight hearings. It's an effort to define that line between private security and public accountability. If they act like police, they have to be held to police standards.
That's a story to watch, for sure. Now, on a more positive note for local governance, Baltimore County launched improvements to its permitting system.
This is part of the Baltimore County Builds initiative.
And this focus on digital modernization, I mean, that's essential for economic vitality. It's a huge positive.
It really is.
Yeah.
In today's economy, bureaucratic friction from, outdated paper-heavy systems is just a massive drag on everything. Small businesses, housing, commercial growth.
So streamlining that process, making it faster and clearer, is a key indicator of effective local government.
It's often the unsexy, invisible fixes, like a good permitting system, that end up having the biggest real-world economic impact.
Speaking of essential services, the city is bracing for the cold, another predictable threat that needs a solid system response.
The Baltimore City Health Department activated a Code Blue for extreme cold,
which is a measure that runs from November 15th to March 15th every year.
And this Code Blue is a vital activation of the social safety net. It recognizes that extreme weather creates immediate, life-threatening situations for vulnerable people, especially those experiencing homelessness.
So what does that activation actually trigger?
It triggers specific coordinated actions, things like expanded shelter space, meal distribution, and setting up warming centers where people can go during the day to avoid the deadly cold.
And the county is right there with them, making sure it's a regional response.
Right. Baltimore County also activated overnight emergency shelters. The sources listed specific locations, like the Eastern Family Resource Center and the Westside Men's Shelter.
The coordination needed for that must be immense. Staffing, supplies, transportation.
It is. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the ability of a city to rapidly deploy resources for the cold, just like the response to the bridge collapse, it defines the practical resilience of a community.
How quickly can the systems respond to these challenges?
Exactly. These extreme yet foreseeable challenges. And this is relevant for every listener, whether you're in Baltimore or not, because climate volatility is making these kinds of responses more and more critical everywhere.
That's a powerful transition. We've established that physical reality is all about maintenance and vigilance. A loose wire sinks a ship. Extreme cold demands a response.
And now we need to shift gears entirely
to the abstract, but just as dangerous realm of digital vulnerabilities.
We're literally moving from the inner harbor to the dark web, from infrastructure failure to zero-day exploits.
And the crucial difference is speed.
Right. Speed and scale. The Dali took time to drift. A digital attack can propagate across the entire globe in milliseconds.
And, often that digital chaos is also caused by a simple digital equivalent of a loose wire.
A missing patch, a weak password.
A single oversight.
Okay, so let's pivot and look at the most urgent warnings for network defenders and, well, for all of us.
Let's do it.
Starting with the things that need to be fixed right now. Microsoft released an out-of-band update.
specifically to fix a Windows 11 hot patch, KB50689666, that was causing an install loop.
Okay, so for the learner, what does out of band actually mean? Why should we care about that term?
Out of band just means it was released outside of their regular, predictable monthly Patch Tuesday schedule.
So it's an emergency patch. It is. When a company as big as Microsoft breaks that schedule, it means the flaw is either being actively exploited in the wild or, like in this case, it's causing such severe system instability like an install loop that prevents your system from even booting that they just can't wait. It signals immediate operational danger.
And while Microsoft is dealing with that, we have a clear security threat from Grafana Labs, a maximum severity vulnerability.
That's CVE 2025-41115. An administrative spoofing vulnerability in their enterprise product. And this is a major concern.
Why Grafana specifically?
Because Grafana is everywhere. It's a huge open-source platform that organizations all over the world use for monitoring for visualization. It's the dashboard for the modern enterprise network.
So a maximum severity alert means what?
It means the vulnerability is likely easy to exploit, and a successful exploit could let an attacker, spoof their way into high-privilege access without any real authentication.
If an attacker controls the monitoring dashboard,
they can blind the network defenders. They can control the data streams. Patching this is not optional, it's mandatory. Immediately.
And the network perimeter itself is under direct assault. SonicWall is urging customers to patch a high-severity flaw in their firewalls.
Yes, an SSL VPN flaw. And what's critical here is that attackers can exploit it to actively crash vulnerable firewalls.
Crash them, not just bypass them.
Crash them. Think of the firewall as the digital border wall of your network. If an attacker can just knock it over, it's a denial of service nightmare.
And the network is either left wide open or it just shuts down completely.
Crippling business operations. This flaw is uniquely dangerous because it combines system instability with a high-privilege attack vector. It just removes the network's primary line of defense.
What's so frustrating is that even with all these defenses, the oldest threat is often the one that works.
The human element.
CrowdStrike confirmed a high-profile case where an insider just fed information directly to hackers.
Indeed. The insider threat remains probably the most difficult vulnerability to mitigate. And that data, it didn't stay hidden. It was leaked immediately on Telegram by the Scattered Lapsus Hunters group.
Those groups are known for their social engineering, aren't they?
Audacious social engineering and rapid monetization of stolen data for maximum reputational damage. It just underscores that all the firewalls in the world can't stop betrayal. Zero trust has to extend inside the organization.
And we are seeing some real-world consequences. 2 British teenagers associated with the Scattered Spider group pleaded not guilty.
That's related to the August 2024 Transport for London breach. It connects the digital crime back to tangible legal action. It shows the consequences are real.
Now, shifting to geopolitical targets, there was a massive infrastructure hit. A hacker claimed to steal 2.3 terabytes of data from Almaviva,
which is the IT services provider for Italy's national railway operator.
Why target the railways? What's the goal there?
Critical national infrastructure. The trains, the energy grid, water treatment.
Yeah.
It's a prime target for state actors or big criminal syndicates.
And 2.3 terabytes is just an astronomical amount of data.
It is. It likely includes everything. Sensitive operational schedules, employee information, maintenance logs, maybe even blueprints. Stealing this doesn't just disrupt trains. It compromises national logistics, security, and safety. It's an act of cyber warfare against civil society.
The sheer volume of the automated attacks is also just staggering. A surge of 2.3 million malicious scanning sessions.
All targeting Palo Alto Network's Global Protect VPN portals starting around November 14th.
What does a number that big even mean in practical terms?
It means this isn't one person hunting for a way in. This is mass automated reconnaissance. It's the digital equivalent of bots trying every single door and window on every building in a city, simultaneously and continuously, a constant, brutal digital siege.
And in the middle of all this, the regulatory environment seems to be, going backwards.
It's a strange move. The FCC reversed a ruling that had mandated stricter cybersecurity rules for U.S. telecom carriers.
Why would they do that now? Especially after something like the Salt Typhoon hack.
That is the critical question. The Salt Typhoon hack demonstrated the profound fragility of this sector. Telecom carriers are fundamental to everything. This reversal suggests a tension between reducing the regulatory burden and upholding national security. It's a gamble, frankly. A gamble with national security.
Okay, this is where it gets really concerning on a personal level for every single person listening. We have to talk about a new piece of malware.
A new Android banking Trojan named Sternus.
And this is different.
This is the single most critical detail in the security index today. Sternus is incredibly sophisticated. Its specific danger is that it can steal communications from end-to-end encrypted platforms.
Like WhatsApp and Signal.
Like WhatsApp and Signal. This fundamentally changes the security conversation for everyone.
Okay, right, let's stop right there. I use Signal. Millions of people use it because it's supposed to be the ultimate barrier. How can Sternus get around that?
You're right. The end-to-end encryption is the ultimate barrier in transit. When the message is flying through the internet, an attacker who intercepts it just sees scrambled nonsense.
So Sternus doesn't attack the encryption itself.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
It attacks the endpoint. It attacks your phone at the operating system or application layer.
So, explain that. How does that work?
Think about it. The message has to be decrypted for you to read it, right? And you have to type it in plain text before it gets encrypted to be sent.
Right.
Sternus, having already infected your device, operates at that point. At the point of decryption or encryption, it acts like a very advanced keylogger or a screen reader. It sees the message on your screen after it's been decrypted, or it sees it as you type it before it's encrypted.
So from my perspective, it looks secure. The little lock icon is there. But the Trojan is just reading over my shoulder digitally.
That's a perfect way to put it. The strong security of Signal and WhatsApp is completely moot if the foundation, the device itself, is already compromised.
That is a massive digital vulnerability. It means we have to be paranoid about what we download, regardless of how secure the app is.
Precisely. It moves the focus of security from the network to the integrity of your hardware.
And finally, on the monetization front, Google is rolling out ads in its AI mode.
What they're calling their answer engine.
What does that signal to you?
It signals a major turning point in the economics of AI search. Google is moving past the experimental phase and directly into profit generation.
So how are they going to distinguish between a real AI answer and a paid placement?
That is the immediate question, isn't it? Will the quality or the impartiality of the answer engine suffer? It's the monetization of truth or, well, the monetization of generated information.
Let's shift our gaze now away from the bad actors and toward the innovators, the builders. This section is full of those aha moments.
I love this stuff. We're seeing the open source AI race just heat up significantly. There's a lot of discussion around Olmo 3 and how they're trying to chart a path to lead open source AI.
When they talk about a strategic path to lead, what does that really mean? Is it just about having the most compute power?
It's not just compute. It's about transparency, efficiency, architectural novelty. A strategic path means making smart choices about the data set, the training methods, and making it easy to fine-tune. Leadership in open source is about enabling others, not just boasting about your scale.
And speaking of AI capabilities, there's a fascinating use case, LLMs writing a language interpreter.
This is profoundly meta. This is LLMs moving beyond writing essays or code snippets to actually developing foundational systems.
How does that change things?
It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for creating new programming tools. If an LLM can rapidly generate an interpreter for a new language, a process that used to take human engineers months in, well, it's the machine bootstrapping its own tools.
But doesn't that introduce a massive security risk? If the interpreter itself is written by a probabilistic LLM, how do we know it hasn't generated subtle vulnerabilities?
That is the essential challenge. The benefit is speed, but the risk is inheriting these ghost vulnerabilities errors the LLM learned from poorly written code in its training data. The next frontier isn't just generation, it's verification and security auditing for LLM-generated code.
On the hardware side, let's talk about FEXEMU. It runs by 86 applications on ARM64 Linux devices. Break that down for us. Why is that so vital?
It's a huge compatibility challenge. For decades, everything ran on x86 chips from Intel and AMD. But ARM architecture, which started in mobile, is incredibly power efficient, so it's moving into servers, laptops.
But they speak different languages, right? The chips.
Completely different machine languages. FEXEMU provides dynamic binary translation. It translates the x86 instructions into ARM instructions on the fly.
So you can run your old software on new, efficient hardware.
Exactly. It unlocks huge operational flexibility, lower power consumption, and it future-proofs your software investments without requiring expensive rewrites. It's a key piece of modern computing.
And for those wanting to build that foundational knowledge, there's content available called WebAssembly from the ground up.
And we should emphasize, WebAssembly, or WASM, is not optional anymore. It's becoming the universal, safe, compact machine code for the future. It allows you to run code at near-native speed, securely, in any environment. A browser, a server, anywhere.
Okay, now for the jump to pure science and math, a technical article explaining Hilbert space.
Yes, focusing on the core concept of treating functions as vectors.
This is a true aha moment, but it's a tough one to get your head around.
It is. Okay, let me try to simplify.
Yeah.
Think of a Hilbert space as a very sophisticated infinite dimensional version of the 2D or 3D space you learned in geometry.
So with distance and angles.
Right. But in Hilbert space, you extend those simple concepts to abstract objects, like functions.
I still struggle with that. How is a function a vector?
By treating a function, which can be an audio signal, an image, a quantum state, as a vector, you can do geometric operations on it. You can measure the distance or the angle between two functions.
How is that useful?
It's how sophisticated signal filtering works. The algorithm treats the noise and the pure signal as two different vectors in this space, and it can mathematically filter out the noise vector based on its measurable geometric difference. It provides a geometric framework for analyzing incredibly messy things.
That is fantastic, taking messy functions and giving them a simple geometric structure.
And from that abstract math to very concrete biology, scientists confirm that bees can process time.
That is just mind-blowing to me. And the sources say this is a first in insects, right?
It is. We knew they could learn sequences, like a flower opening at noon. But processing time confirms a true cognitive ability to track the passage of time internally, separate from external cues like sunlight.
They have an internal stopwatch.
Essentially, yes. It suggests a whole new level of cognitive complexity. They're not just using spatial maps, but temporal memory to optimize their foraging. It fundamentally shifts our understanding of insect intelligence.
We also saw an article on the technical difficulties of constructing an oscillator.
This is a great reminder that even foundational electronic components are hard to perfect. It's like the loose wire on the Dali. An oscillator is supposed to generate a stable, repetitive signal, but things like temperature or tiny imperfections can easily throw the frequency off or introduce jitter.
Which is catastrophic for digital systems that need precise timing.
Exactly. It shows the difficulty in perfecting even the most basic things.
And for the DIY folks, a project on how to build a 32-volt 10 yen-S device for under $100.
A great example of making complex tech accessible. But it also raises important safety questions, Building a medical device from scratch requires rigorous attention to safety and calibration. It's rewarding, but you have a huge responsibility.
And finally, connecting tech back to economics. An analysis that overregulation is doubling the cost in some unnamed domain.
This just emphasizes the economic drag that poorly designed compliance can create. Regulations are vital for safety, but they're never cost neutral. Poor regulatory design can stifle innovation by making the barrier to entry just too expensive.
All right, shifting back to the human and political landscape. And we're going to adhere strictly to impartial reporting here on the facts from the sources.
We begin with a definitive legal outcome. Pras Michel of the Fugees was sentenced to 14 years.
And that closes a long, high-profile case about illegal campaign donations. A clear precedent.
Meanwhile, the political temperature domestically remains quite high. Representative Crow declared, "I'm not going to be intimidated," in response to a sedition threat made by Trump.
That just highlights the intense, personalized nature of modern politics.
And then, showing how unpredictable things are, Trump is scheduled to meet with Mamdani in the Oval Office.
Despite having previously called him a communist.
Right. That's the political contradiction of the moment. It highlights how pragmatic alliances can shift rapidly despite deep ideological differences, often for short-term goals.
The sources also noted the White House condemned a video from Democratic lawmakers, but chose not to back off from posts made by Trump.
Which highlights the selective application of condemnation in the current political environment. And that sparks debate about consistency and standards.
And with midterms coming up, voting officials are watching closely how Trump might potentially interfere.
The concern centers on both legal and extra-legal interference. From challenging voting infrastructure with lawsuits to using rhetoric that delegitimizes the results, it speaks to a high level of concern around electoral integrity.
Globally, there was reporting focused on the Afrikaners, who are at the center of a dispute involving Trump and South Africa.
Yes, the Afrikaners are a specific sociocultural group in southern Africa. The dispute likely connects to highly charged issues like land reform and property rights, showing how domestic politics can intersect with complex international identity groups.
Okay, let's move to some essential social and safety updates. The Transportation Department endorsed a new crash test dummy.
One designed to more closely resemble women.
This is a major safety milestone, isn't it? And long overdue.
Completely. Historical data bias meant standard dummies were based on the average male physique, which led to a systemic underestimation of injury risks for women. This is about moving toward equitable safety standards based on accurate data.
We also saw a cultural moment when a new Miss Universe was crowned weeks after she had previously left a pageant in protest.
It shows the powerful intersection of activism and high-profile cultural events. Her decision to leave was a statement, and her subsequent return and crowning highlights the power of individual protest.
And on public health, a sharp split among anti-smoking advocates.
The question is whether vaping can actually help people quit traditional cigarettes.
It's a complex debate about harm reduction, right?
It is. One side argues it's a less harmful nicotine delivery system. The other side is deeply concerned it's a gateway for youth, and that we don't know the long-term consequences. The scientific consensus is still developing.
And finally, a question of whether the U.S. can learn from a European country's current struggle with measles.
Given how infectious diseases spread, understanding containment strategies abroad is crucial for domestic preparedness. The rise of measles is often linked to vaccine hesitancy, so analyzing that struggle offers vital lessons on public information and maintaining community immunity.
Mater, we covered so much ground, and the narrative that really tied it all together was this theme of fragility, of how systems break down.
Indeed. The key takeaways for you, the learner, are those points of hidden vulnerability. The Dali collapse confirmed that a simple loose wire can trigger catastrophic failure.
Which means meticulous maintenance and oversight are everything.
In all complex systems. And digitally, the discovery that the sternest Trojan can get around the security of WhatsApp and Signal is an immediate threat you need to be aware of.
It means we have to obsess over device integrity now, not just network security.
Exactly. If the endpoint is compromised, no amount of encryption will save you.
On the side of progress, though, the incredible discovery that bees can process time.
And the new female crash test dummy. A major, long overdue win for equitable safety, showing that good engineering has to address human bias.
Before we go, our proverb of the day. It is an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling.
This connects back perfectly. In politics, we saw strife and meddling, potentially with elections. But even technically, that loose wire on the Dali was meddling with the power supply.
Causing destructive chaos.
The lesson is to focus your energy on what matters. Acquiring knowledge, maintaining systems meticulously, and applying critical thought, rather than engaging in unnecessary conflict or sloppy negligence.
A profound connection. Okay, for our clip of the day, it has to be the most surprising and personally relevant threat we discussed.
I agree completely. It has to be the revelation about the sternest Android banking Trojan.
And its ability to compromise communications on WhatsApp and Signal by targeting your device.
That capability fundamentally changes the threat model for personal security for millions of people who rely on those platforms.
So if you only remember one thing from today's security index, remember sternness. Patch your devices, check your sources, be aware of your endpoint integrity. Thank you for weaving that all together.
My pleasure.
Adios, folks.